Hello and good morning, everybody. Dr. Jared here. Wanted to start our 30 days of going through the book, The Paleo Cardiologist, kicking off for our Monday night seminar of the book. For those of you that are current clients, as you know, if you've been in the clinic, you know that we are giving away complimentary books to empower you, specifically to have the best knowledge to make the best decisions for your health. So everything that I go through over these next 30 days is either specifically in the book or is an extrapolation of my opinion based on the research that's in this book. So the book, if you haven't seen it yet, this is the Paleo Cardiologist by Dr. Jack Wolfson. At one time, he did a bunch of continuing education for at a Max Living seminar, which first stimulating me wanting to read the book. Our entire staff has read it. I think it's excellent. If you don't know much about Dr. Wolfson, he is a board certified cardiologist. His father was a cardiologist. He was a top doctor in the Phoenix, Arizona area, and still is, but now does not practice in the traditional medical world, practices in a private practice doing what they're calling paleocardiology or true holistic medicine. So some of the reasons for this switch, in his words, are that he saw people not getting better, treating them with mostly drugs and surgery, and wanted to implement more things that allow your body to heal itself. And secondarily, he watched his father go through a terrible disease that did have a lifestyle component to it. And his father, he felt, did not follow the lifestyle as well as he could have. So what we'll be doing over these next 30 days is I'll be doing roughly 10 pages a day. I'm going to read right out of this book, take my notes for those of you following along or watching this later. The whole idea is this book, for some people, can be a little too heady. And so I want to make sure that you have a really good understanding and also just give my thoughts on it. So, really our goal is to empower you to lead the best life possible, getting the cause of your health. So starting on page 1 here, it says the cholesterol is king. So chapter 1, cholesterol is king. I have this first quote circled. Sorry, I'm getting used to the camera here. But it says, if you repeat a lie often enough, it becomes truth. So when you hear people say, a couple of things that probably stand out to me the most, one would be that if you have a cholesterol over 200, you just absolutely have to take a statin to lower it. Another thing that is absolutely not true is that eating a cholesterol-rich food dramatically raises your cholesterol. And then lastly, one of my favorites, the flu shot, even if it doesn't cover the strains of the flu that were exposed to this year, it shortens the length of time that you have it and it lowers the overall symptoms. Those are absolutely not true, but you'll hear them repeated over and over and over. Even, an example of that would be for those of you that follow the flu shot. United States medical study through the military showed that this coronavirus epidemic that's currently going on is you're more likely to contract it if you've had a flu shot because your body's not developing natural immunity. So going beyond page 1 here, the first thing that I want to really establish is that cholesterol is essential. It is an essential building block to life. It controls and helps build so many of the functions. It helps with memory. It's a huge part of your neurology. It's the backbone of things like serotonin, which affects your mood. It's the backbone of testosterone, progesterone, estrogen, DHEA. These are all sex hormones that affect how much energy you have, that affect so many parts of normal life function. And also DHEA is a building block for, many, especially the female sex hormones. So cholesterol is good for you. And looking at cholesterol as like the demon is not a good thing. You may know already that, when cholesterol guidelines were changed all the way back in the early 2000s, the previous recommendation was not to medicate for cholesterol unless your cholesterol is under 240. Another little known fact is that one of the best indicators is your HDL to LDL ratios, which we'll get into later this week. But there are foods, there are supplements, there are certain vitamins that can dramatically affect how much HDL, the good cholesterol per se, you make. And another thing that this book states and puts the research article in there for those of you that are reading is that even when your HDL is raised through, for instance, medication, it raises it on the number, but it can be a more dysfunctional type of HDL. So, the best way to raise it is by your body doing it naturally. Your liver is really what controls how much cholesterol you produce if you don't mess with it. So one of the things, when I'm going back to testosterone, this is on page 4, low testosterone, which you see all these low T commercials, how many of those men that have low testosterone are on a cholesterol lowering medication? I'd be interested to know. But low T is linked to Alzheimer's disease, dementia, and coronary artery disease. So again, heart disease. So when somebody has low testosterone, it's linked to all those things. He quotes in this, he says, "It is a crime for premenopausal women to be put on a cholesterol-reducing pharmaceutical, since we have no idea if this affects fertility or fetal development," meaning that cholesterol lowering artificially can negatively affect not only women's hormones, but can affect the baby. The most prevalent hormone in circulation is the hormone DHEA. It's made in the adrenals, testes, and ovaries from cholesterol. Hundreds of studies prove that low DHEA is associated with increased risk of heart attack, stroke, diabetes, and just about everything else. So again, having healthy cholesterol in your body is essential. On to the next page here, it starts to talk about thyroid. So cholesterol is essential for thyroid hormones, for T3 and T4. Sunshine. Why do we talk about sun? Right now we're going into spring, and it's just so important to get natural vitamin D. But all winter, if you weren't supplementing with vitamin D is a precursor combined with cholesterol to make a lot of these hormones. So when people have low vitamin D, unfortunately, they sometimes can't convert that cholesterol into the healthy hormones they need. And again, when you think about some of the biggest things that bother people, how they look, how they feel, and how they think, these are all based on a cholesterol backbone for a lot of the hormones. So if this alone doesn't stimulate you to want to read the Paleo Cardiologist, I don't know what will. If you're not a current client, I strongly encourage you to order it on Amazon or to order it on their website. Like I said already, if you are a current client, we do have these books complimentary. You can either post a comment and we'll reserve you a book, or if you do feel comfortable coming into the clinic for one of those essential adjustments, you can sign up and you can leave with a book that day. Next thing, brain health, page 7. Another report concluded people with low cholesterol had higher rates of depression, aggression, and suicidal thoughts. Again, these are all research studies backed at the end of the article. So my favorite now, on to page 9. So I'm going to try and show this, but if you look here, this is maybe the most important look at cholesterol. So many people think higher cholesterol, higher death rate. You can see on here in the study, higher cholesterol, higher cardiovascular death rate, but you have roughly the same death rate if you consider all causes, people with cholesterol at 250 and people with cholesterol at 150. The ideal is somewhere in the middle. So the point is that, for people to worry about, let's say having a cholesterol of 210, or one time I had a client come in and she's a 32-year-old healthy mother of 2, teacher, works out, eats well, all this stuff. And she had a cholesterol of 220, but her HDL was 110, which is incredibly good. And still, because it was over 200, her doctor wanted to put her on a cholesterol lowering medication. And she's had another child since then. So you can imagine what that possibly could have done to the development of her child. So remember, get to the cause, be healthy. Now, last page here. So in that chart, which I'm going to put back up here, I guess. So in this chart, you'll also notice this little bottom number here. It shows stroke. So one thing specifically is that having higher cholesterol raised cardiovascular death rate. It did not raise stroke rate. And a lot of people think high cholesterol, heart disease, and stroke, as you can see there, and as it states in this book, that it is not necessarily the case. So last thing here before I sign off for today is that, if you go to the action plan at the end of each chapter, so this was chapter 1, cholesterol is king, getting to the cause of the problems. The more cholesterol in your brain, the less risk of dementia, depression, and other neurologic diseases. Second, the cell membrane, so the outer layer of every single cell in your body, is a cholesterol-rich structure, which is vital to health. Hormones, vitamin D, and digestive juices all come from cholesterol. It's critical to the function of every cell in the body. So my hope for today is that you leave with a little bit better understanding of cholesterol and also feel more empowered that cholesterol is not necessarily bad for you. Having bad cholesterol is bad for you, and most of that is done through lifestyle things. There are a few people with genetic things, but in general, most people, lifestyle, and Dr. Wolfson would say that people are significantly over-medicated for high cholesterol. Have an awesome day, everybody.